Recording. All right, good morning, Roaring with Lions, and we have today CourtneyFraser with us. I'm really excited she's here. I tell you, I seem to be getting the best speakers. I just really love this. And Courtney is going to talk to us about epilepsy today. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And now, do you have books out, or did you send me copies of books that you recommend?
I have one book of poetry that's totally good, one that has some errors in it, and then one that's in the process of being published.
Oh, nice. So are you self-publishing?
Yes, on Amazon.
Okay.
The one that's currently out there that has no errors is Dreams Do Come True.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that one. That's awesome.
And then the one that I realized had errors after we published was Olympic Dreams. Then the one that's in the process of being published is Dreams Realized, or Realized Dreams, something like that.
Okay.
The third book is poems based on my life.
Ah.
The second book was obviously based on the Olympics. The first book was just poems all over the place, just simple ones. And I wrote them as they came to me.
Nice.
I actually started writing in 7th grade.
Oh, nice.
That's when I fell in love with poetry in a creative writing class of all things.
That's
I was
wonderful.
like, oh, this is fun.
Well,
so that was one of the ways that I got my thoughts and feelings out. And then I also journaled starting in 9th grade.
Oh,
then
wow.
I stopped doing the journaling for a while, but then I got back to it in 2020 when the pandemic hit.
Oh, that's good. I've just really started learning about journaling and gosh, I find it.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I really find it a good release. You journal at night before you go to sleep, just to get everything out of your head and down on paper.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I even go back to like some of my old ones from when I was a teenager just to see like where I was. And then there was one that I wrote regarding epilepsy that saddens me because back then I wrote that nobody deserves to have epilepsy. And then I wrote, I'm the only one that deserves it.
Oh, wow.
In the same journal entry.
How do you feel about that now?
That just saddens me, because that I thought that way. Like, I know, like, I don't deserve it. Like, but like back then, I think it was just shortly after I got diagnosed, and like I was also just starting high school. So like 2 transitions at the same time and trying to get used to life with 2 different things at the same time was difficult, and just being like not knowing what epilepsy was until a year and a half later, because the doctor that diagnosed me only said it's a seizure disorder, but he didn't say what a seizure was. And just like, come on, like you're diagnosing me with something I didn't know nothing about, and I'm a 15-year-old. And where do you think my mind would go?
Yeah.
Like I had dreams for a year and a half of watching myself die from seizures, not knowing if that was a possibility or not, but obviously my mind went there. And then in 10th grade, we had to do a research paper on a topic of choice. And I said, okay, it's time to find out more about this. I don't want to continue having these nightmares every single night. And as soon as I did my research, like I found that it is a possibility, like as the years went on, I found out that it is the possibility of sudden and unexpected death in epilepsy, but it's only 1 in 1,000 people with epilepsy that die from it. Mm-hmm. That's still a pretty high number, but high percentage, but a lot of people don't. So like, but just knowing that I did my own research and gained that like information that I didn't have when I was diagnosed was so helpful to me. Like I was like, okay, I can like it might be difficult to deal with the side effects of the meds. It might be difficult with the things that come along with epilepsy, like depression and anxiety, suicidal thoughts. But I can, it's still like I still have a life. Like it might be different now, but, and I might have to make decisions that I didn't have to make before and that most kids don't have to make.
Yes.
But I'm still here. I'm still like, I still have a life. And it might be more difficult, but you know, like because one of my things was I got so frustrated with my friends at points because they're like, do you have your license yet? Why not? And like they
Oh,
knew I had epilepsy. And I'm just like, you know, I can't drive unless it's been 90 days since my last seizure. And that's why I don't have a license yet. You know, I have to wait 90 days before be after my last seizure before I can drive. And that having to constantly say that was so frustrating. And there's other things like there's stigmas, like people like, oh, you're demon possessed. That's a
oh.
myth. And always having
Wow.
to say that to people like multiple times and people saying, you called it into your life. No, I didn't. You know, like how many times do I
Wow.
have to say the same stuff? And like, no wonder a lot of us don't want to bring up our stories with it
Yeah.
because we know there's a stigma and we don't know how people are going to react or what they're going to say. And like, but then last year, I got so, like, starting last year, I got so tired of being silent. I was so tired of being like everybody else and being like, keeping
Mhm.
it to myself, my emotions about it to myself. Like, in 2020, I started therapy, but like I was still hiding a lot of stuff, even to my therapist. Like I was not opening up. I was just like, I'm told because I have other disabilities, and like people in the disability community are the same way.
Mhm.
They're they feel like they have to stay silent. They have to adapt to society, except society being taught how to be like treat us and you know, and it's just I'm just like, okay, and mental health too. Like it has stigma. It's just like everything I have teaches you to be silent about your story and not share it. I'm just like, and I was like finally tired of that. Like it actually got so bad last year that I actually had to go to the hospital for mental health.
Mm.
And when I was in the mental health ward, because I was off of my seizure meds because my neurologist took me off in May 2017, since my last one up to that point was 2004, in February of 2004. She's like, okay, you can come off of the, like, I was only on one seizure med at that point because I got taken off of the other one in 2011.
Okay.
So I was fully taken off in May 2017. And I was still seizure free up until when I went in the hospital for mental health. So this day after the night that I got there, that next night, I had my first breakthrough seizure.
Mm.
So I went back to the ER and then they sent me back to mental health because it was like at that point, I only had one seizure.
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, I had my second breakthrough seizure. So I went back to the ER. At this point, I think the ER was getting pretty tired of seeing me because I was there like on the September 9th, which was a Thursday because of to get into the mental health ward. Then on the 10th, I was there for the seizure. Then on the 12th, I was there for a seizure. And I'm just so then they swapped me to medical to get that sorted out. And I was supposed to be sent back to mental health on the 15th, but I woke up confused. So supposedly one of the meds they had me on could cause confusion.
Right.
So they took me off and kept me an extra night, which I understand. But it was also frustrating because I felt like I should be back there right now. So I got back there on the 16th, and then I got discharged totally on the 20th. And I was only really there on the weekends for mental health, and they don't have any staff members on the weekends except for social workers and the techs.
Oh,
So
wow.
what help did I really get, you know?
Yeah.
Like they could have probably sent someone during the week to see me for mental health, but when I was in medical, but they didn't. So I literally had to find my own way after I got home, like how to get back into the routine of daily life and how to overcome like what I went through when I was in the hospital, you know. So what I did was I gave myself a timeline. I'm like, okay, I'm only giving myself till the end of the year to be depressed and upset about this and discouraged. And as soon as it hurts January 1st, I'm going to let that go and just like move on. So I did that. And then in February 3rd, there was a hearing for a seizure safe schools bill in Maryland. And I actually signed up to speak on a Zoom for like in front of the legislators about it.
Good.
These were the senators in Maryland. I missed the one for the House of Delegates in Maryland, but I was like, the day I got the link, the day before, I was like, I need to back out. I need to back out. And then I'm
Hmm.
like, I remind myself, no, you signed up to do this. You're going to do this. You also said you'd rather speak than write the testimony,
Yeah.
which is a big shift for me because in the past I would have preferred writing over speaking. So I was like, okay, I'm doing this. It doesn't matter how it sounds. It doesn't matter if you stumble, like just get it out there. And the chair of the committee that we were testifying in front of, after I was done talking, thanked me for my very personal story. I was not expecting that. So that
Nice.
was helpful. Just knowing that it had an impact on the committee itself was amazing. And then it went through all these steps, you know, like, and then the next Thursday there was a hearing for mental health bills. And I signed up to do that and speak for those. And a lot of those bills got passed and signed by the governor, like the 988 Trust Fund, which is in July across the country, there's going to be a mental health number 988. So it's like 911, but for mental health. And he signed that one. He signed the Seizure Safe Schools bill. So, like, and all the steps that went in between testifying and like all the action steps we had to take to make sure it got passed.
Yeah.
Like, just seeing the process was amazing. And like, seeing like they had over 1,000 bills on both sides of the General Assembly this year to like go through and having to decide which ones are going for, which ones aren't, you know, imagine how hard that is on them. Of
Yeah.
course, they'd like to have everyone go through this year, but they can't because it's over 1,000. But I'm just glad that I had a part in both the mental health and the seizure safe schools bill. The seizure safe schools bill was out there since 2019. And I heard that through the person that started it, if it's a good bill, it will most likely take 3 years to
Oh,
pass.
wow.
So at least in Maryland. So obviously with the pandemic, it took a little bit longer because there was no General Assembly in 2020, I guess. And then, but they had to stop because of the pandemic. Um, and then if it's not run well, if it's not good, then it ends that first year. So at least it made it to the 3-year mark.
Yep.
So that was good. And just knowing that process and like how hard it's been and having to go through this every year, like I didn't have to, I just found out about it this year, but knowing that they had to go through the process each
Yeah.
year was so amazing to me. And like just knowing that even though I just got started on it this year, when the year that it got passed, just knowing I had some part in it is so empowering and so invigorating. Like, and shows you that advocacy does work, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
So then that gave me encouragement to actually speak up for myself to my even more encouragement to speak up to my doctors about concerns that I have.
Hmm.
Yeah, it may take multiple visits, but they eventually get on the same page as you, and you don't have to just go with what they say.
Right.
Or
Right.
because that's another thing we're taught with as people with disabilities is just agree with the doctor, just do what they say,
Mm.
be that people pleaser kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
that's not good.
so like so I've had to break out of all like a lot of things, like all these limitations, because all we're told is what we can't do.
Hmm.
And we have to discover for ourselves what we can do. And that's not right.
Yeah. You
And
have a lot of
we need to
things
be
going on today. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. I was going to say you have a lot
we
of things
need to be
going
told
on
what we can
today.
do.
You're right. And sometimes, even though you're told no, you need to go ahead and speak up anyways. That's,
Yeah.
I guess, because I've been in the medical field. I when I would take the kids to the doctor or my husband or whatever, I'm always asking lots of questions, and I think sometimes they do get annoyed with me, but I want to understand what's going on. I want to know what the options are. I want to know what the risks are. I want to know how to live our lives with whatever situation is going on. And I'm sure you probably would have liked to have asked a lot of questions when you first found out. It's kind of, I think sometimes when you're doing something all the time, you forget that the people you're talking to really don't understand what you're talking about. And
Right.
I am so glad, Courtney, that you found your voice and that you are speaking up, um, and that you're not letting it stop you anymore. Um, and I'm really proud of you for that.
Thank you. And it's been hard, like if you talk to anybody that has known me for the last 2 years, they know how hard it's been to get me out of this shell.
Yeah.
Like I remember last year, like one of my friends, Danielle, from a coaching program, Danielle, right? Like from Life on Fire.
Right.
She literally, it was literally like pulling teeth. I'm like, no, 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 I can't do Facebook Lives. I can't, like, because I I was so still worried about what people would think about me, because it felt like whenever I was growing up, like when I tried to speak up for myself, it didn't work.
Right.
And or like I was still made fun of or whatever. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't work. I can't,
Yep.
like, so
Just
why would I
draw
do
back.
Facebook Live?
Yeah.
And then my therapist was the same way. She's like, dude, you need to get out of the shell. You need to break out of it. Like, don't let the past impact what's going on now. So I was like, oh my gosh. Like after having multiple people say that to me, I'm like, okay, they're right. I need to do this. Like,
Yes.
I need to start getting out there. And now, like this year, it was funny because I had a 4-day EEG, and every single day I had it on. I did Facebook Live on my timeline.
Nice.
And like, I'm just like, yeah, I looked like a mummy, but sometimes those with disabilities and epilepsy have to have a sense of humor and make fun of themselves, right? And
Yeah,
show others what it's like to have that condition, because they don't know unless you share with them.
exactly.
And it was definitely tough those 4 days, because normally I walk every day, and I shower every day. And since it was on my head, I could only do like a sponge bath, and I couldn't wash my hair.
Oh,
And I can't walk like outside, because they said don't do anything that could make you sweat. The thing they didn't realize was the thing that they had on me made me sweat.
that's
I'm like, I can't do anything that makes me sweat, but this makes me sweat. Like, really? But yeah. So yeah, it was kind of part of like working around that, because I also had a mindfulness class that Saturday, and it was that I had it on. But I emailed the person who is also my primary care ahead of time saying, I don't know how much I will be able to do on Saturday because I had the 4-day EEG on me. And she's like, it's okay, I understand. So yeah, sometimes you just have to make light of it and make fun of it.
oh,
And like, I've learned that. Like, you have to, in a sense, have fun with it, and make it is already a part of your life, but make it a part of what you show to others, and like, don't just show the positives, show what it's like, how you feel daily. Because
mhm.
I do write posts every day saying how many days seizure free I've been. And yes, it's get frustrating at points. Like September through November, I had a seizure like every month, at least
Oh,
one seizure
wow.
every month. So I had to constantly reset that seizure free, like how many days seizure free I was. And I knew I had to go 90 days without a seizure before I could actually have the opportunity to drive again
Yeah,
in Maryland. And I don't drive anyways, even though I have a license, because the safety thing, like if I do have a seizure when I'm driving, it can impact others, and I don't want to take that chance.
right.
But at least I have the option. Like for 90 days, I didn't have that option, you know? I didn't have that freedom. And it just shows you how much we take for granted every single day,
Yeah, we do.
you know? And like, I remember when I got released from the hospital, like in September, when they said, oh, you can have your own shoes and socks on. And like, I roughly out loud said, yes, because we always had to wear those hospital socks,
Yes.
like. So when they finally said you can get your own stuff on, because we had our own clothes on, thankfully, but like as soon as they said that, I was like, wow, we take this for granted every single day, and you don't realize it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna not take that for granted anymore, because I know what it's like to not have that for days at a time. And being able to walk and be free and not like be locked in somewhere, Like I really understand what it's like for prisoners now. Like I have more sympathy for them, because that's what it felt like. We
Yes.
Part of it was because of the pandemic. We couldn't get out because of the pandemic, and they don't want, like, if people are out there outside had COVID, they don't want us getting it. So I understood that, but like it felt like, okay, the only place we can be is in this ward. There was an outside with a gate where we couldn't get out. It was locked, but still, it was like, we are in prison. Like,
Mhm.
so like it definitely like opens your eyes to what it is like to be in prison. And like at least we had roommates too. Like that helped a lot. um, but yeah, it was, and then we had it where we were in this same room with everybody all day long except for 1 hour. So, and where it was for like resting or journaling slash reflecting. So that helped. And then we had like the rest of the day was like group activities or meals or
Right.
taking meds. So like we were with each other 24/7, basically. And it was helpful because at least in the ward I was in, there were other Christians.
Yes.
So it helped me realize that I wasn't the only Christian that was having problems and
Yeah.
issues. So like that was definitely encouraging to me. And like we took each other's information down from when we got out, and I've been in contact with some of them. Some of them have changed numbers, so I don't can't get in contact with them anymore. So,
Right. Well, we've only got a little
but
bit of
yeah, it's
time.
been
I was just going to say,
okay.
we've got a little bit of time left. And you said that there's two conditions of epilepsy. Is that right? Did I understand that right?
Yeah, there's multiple things that come along with it besides taking meds and
Okay.
the side effects. There's depression. So that's mental health. Anxiety, which is also mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of, I don't know if it's every single seizure med, but I think it is. At least most of them do. They cause suicidal thinking.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, welcome to life with epilepsy, you know? And so it's way more than just seizures. Like, and that's what people don't understand, that they think it's just seizures, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much going on inside of us that we're always worried about when the next one is, even if it's controlled by medication, because we always know that there's that chance that we can have one. And it, and we all, a lot of us at least feel like fear about dying from them.
Right.
Like we can't break out of that because it's part of the condition, you know?
So
So it's just hard. And like,
I want to ask you,
yeah,
Courtney,
I was,
what do you do about maybe not what you do? How do you mentally prepare yourself for knowing that there probably is another seizure coming sometime, you don't know when? So how do you function through life without making that what you focus on? How do you take your focus off of that? It's still there, but how do you take your focus off of when is the next one going to happen to living your life?
honestly, it's really hard, but like what I've been doing is definitely journaling and being on my computer and like distracting myself with like not distracting, but doing other things. So I don't constantly all day long think, okay, when is the next one? Because that's the thing. There's different triggers like lack of sleep, which medications cause lack of sleep.
Right.
That makes no sense. You should not have a seizure med that causes lack of sleep when that's a trigger for seizures.
Exactly.
Um, Stress can cause a seizure. For some people like me, strobe lights can
Right.
cause seizures. So there's a lot of different, for some women, it's even time of month
Yeah.
that can trigger it. So like you have to know what your triggers are and try
Okay.
your best to avoid those.
Right.
Like
Right.
my one seizure med causes lack of sleep and tiredness. And of course, I had both. I'm just like, really? Really? I have to have both? luckily they've decreased it so it's not as bad. And that's the thing too. You have to speak up because the doctors really want the same thing you do. They want the seizures to be controlled, but with as few side effects as possible.
Good.
And that's the one thing I didn't know when I was first on seizure meds the first time. I just figured they knew what was best. And also I was thinking, okay, I'm just tired because here in Maryland, teenagers have to get up before 7 a.m. to go to school. And I thought, oh, all teenagers are tired.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was a side effect of my med until I got it again this time. And I'm like, oh, so it wasn't because I had to get up early. It could have been a combination of both, but like, I was like, why am I taking a nap every single day after I get home from school?
Because you're not sleeping at night. Because
yeah,
of the
like
meds.
I was wondering, like, this makes no like now I have that connection, but like as a kid, I was like, what's going on? Like, so yeah, it's kind of funny how like things like that happen. Like you can make connections if you get off of meds and then get put back on.
Okay, good. So any last closing thoughts before we have to go? Sorry to cut you off, but I see it's already.
I've actually looked at it multiple times as a blessing in disguise.
Okay.
Because in 2011, when I was still on meds, I wanted mission trip. Sorry, I can't get it out. To Peru, and we were helping the women were helping at an orphanage. The men were helping to build a medical thing. So I was down in the orphanage every single day, and there was this kid with a helmet, and we found out that he has seizures. And yes, some people with epilepsy have to have helmets. Yeah. So, we told him in Spanish that I also take meds for seizures. Instant connection. Nice. And every single day, he wanted to be with me and only me because of that connection that we both had seizures and were taking meds. So one day on the trip, because of high altitude sickness, I couldn't go. Right. The very next day, which I think was the last day of our trip, or close to the last day, he saw me again, and he was so excited. He had a seizure in front of me. Oh, wow. So I know from both sides how scary it is. Yeah. Because I don't remember any more seizures. Yeah. So when people are like, you had a seizure, I'm like, what? So just like, if you do have seizures, my tip is ask those that see it, like, what happened, because the doctor is going to ask you what the seizure was like, and you probably don't remember it. Right. Unless you're aware of it going on. And most people aren't. So just ask the people. Like, that's one thing I've learned. Ask people what it was like, because you don't know. And for those that watch people, stay with them until they come out. Help them stay calm. There's this thing called stay safe side. So you make sure that everything is out that where they could get injured, like furniture and stuff. Move it aside. Put them on their side so like they don't swallow, like if they vomit, like they don't swallow it. Right. Don't put anything in the mouth. Stay with them for when they come out of it. The simple stuff like that. And like that's why we have the seizure safe schools bill now. So staff is trained in seizure first aid. Good. And well, I hate to cut you off, Courtney, but we're getting over our time. So tell me the names of your books again, the ones you have available, and then the one coming out. So the one that has no errors is Dreams Do Come True. The one that has errors that I'm still trying to figure out how to fix is Olympic Dreams. The one in the process of publishing is either Dreams Realized or Realized Dreams. I don't remember which way we put it. All right. But yeah.
And if somebody has more questions, can they get a hold of you or just get a hold of your
Yes.
book? Okay. How do they get a
Yeah,
hold
they
of
can
you?
get a hold of me. On Facebook, either my personal page or my group, which is Miracle Coalition.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Courtney. I wish I had more time to keep talking so we can learn more about this. I'll have to have you come back. And I just really appreciate you speaking out and letting people know your side of epilepsy and what it is and what some of the things that you've gone through. So there will be a replay of this on YouTube. And I just thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you speaking your voice. And we'll see the rest of you roaring lions at noon today, Mountain Time. All right, bye.